All right, welcome everyone. How are you this evening? And we're going to talk about how did I get 30 government officials in one room? What am I doing differently than everybody else? And how can you do the same thing? But more importantly, what does that matter to what does it take for all of you out here to land your first contract, to land your biggest contract, and also to help you land seven-figure contracts? I just literally finished having an interview with a young lady who came to this country from Guatemala, single mom of three kids, and now she's doing $2 million a year. I've had this conversation recently with another young woman who transitioned to the government contracting space, now doing $1 million a year. And I'm wondering, right, what is separating you and them, and what's making the difference between what they're doing, the activities you're doing, and also the activities that we talk about here on the show. So we're gonna have the conversation about that today. And for me, what I've done is I've tried to create a framework for those of us to follow in order to set them on that path towards winning those government contracts. And I want to start off with referencing the federal roadmap because this is basically all the ideas, all the thoughts I've had in my brain for the last since 2008 when I've been doing this, taking all of that out of my brain and putting inside of this document here so that we can help those of you who are still struggling to hit your first seven-figure mark, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today, right? How do we get you from where you're at today to crossing over to seven figures? And when we look at, right, people have been asking me, Eric, what are you doing differently? What am I missing out on? Why am I not able to connect the dots? So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. And we're going to talk for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. And I'm going to invite people to come up here and talk about where they're struggling. And then we're going to go through and answer those questions for those of you. So going to the roadmap, right? And I just want you to see the size of this thing, right? It's massive. Going to the roadmap, right? What is it that is separating those of us who are consistently winning contracts, winning awards, the government's calling us, and essentially the rest of you are saying, I'm bidding projects, I'm chasing work, and I'm not getting calls back, I'm not getting meetings, right? So what's happening, right? What's happening out there? And one of the things I pulled this up just from some of my podcast guests, and a lot of times, right, we know the answers, but we don't necessarily realize the answers. I just had a lunch with a young man today. Came to me, nice guy, and he said, Eric, look, he tells me about his business, and he's saying to me that, and this is great because I find it fascinating when people bring me these stories. So he said, hey, Eric, look, so happy to meet you. Have lunch. Great. And so he starts telling me about it, what he does. And he says, well, I'm a part of this one group that does this. And then I'm a part of this other group that does this. And then, my background is this, but then I do this other thing over here. And I'm listening to him and I'm like, okay. So he goes, but let me show you this thing on my phone. And he says, he starts showing me some app, some sort of rendering of some sort of model. And I go, okay, tell me more. So he's showing me this thing, and he starts getting into that this app is designed to help security officers have police training and things like that. And I go, so wait, do you do police training? It's like, no, 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 no. But I'm showing you this app that's going for this other thing that I'm working on. And so when I listened to him, I said, look, stop, 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 stop. Stop. I'm already confused. We've wasted 10 minutes of your time, 10 minutes of my time. I still don't know what you do yet. And before he could even tell me what he did or what he was trying to do, we're 25 minutes into the meeting. We don't have 25 minutes to get to this. We don't have that kind of time. And I think a lot of us out here, right, we're confused here. And so we can't articulate what is it we do to someone who's trying to buy from us because we don't even know what we do up here. And I want to get into that because I think that what I've seen is it all starts with what's up here, and we'll talk about the roadmap. But we're gonna get. I'm gonna trust me. Don't worry, Bonita. We're gonna give you all the activities to do. But if you're still up here, you're unsure, right? You're confused. That's where we need to start. And I'm hoping that the people that are going to be watching this are going to stay around so we can try to unconfuse them and solve those issues because by the time we finish today, he said he had gone through some sort of course for 9 months and that I had taught him more in 30 minutes that he learned in 9 months of courses. Because anyone can tell you the activities, they tell you how to think, how to speak, how to present yourself. That's a whole nother story. So let's talk about this past week. So how did I get 30 people in the room? Right? What did it take? How did it do it? And so it's interesting. We go back to the sheet, and I bring this up, right? And again, these are all things that we know, but we want to hear, right? Persistency is key. So if we look here and we type in and we go back 3 years ago, I traveled to Alaska. And this is right after COVID finished. And so I traveled to Alaska and I went to the Alaska 8A conference. And in this video, you'll see this is actually all of the SBA representatives, right, from Alaska that represent all the Alaska Native tribes. You can see here, I'm not going to put this on the screen, but you can see NASA's cars there. You can see Cecil that worked with Miami Nation there. In fact, it says right here, 2022. So now we're in 2024. So it says April 2022. Now, this is Jackson Brosi. Jackson works at the SBA office for all the tribal companies. So now we go back 2022, and I start meeting, planting the seeds. Now, in 2022, I did not have the idea for any type of event or conference, right? I'm getting out here, I'm networking, I'm talking to people. Let's go back to even before that. Let's go back to, again, let's look at right here, and this is in Sacramento, California. And all I did was literally type in Sacramento. So again, Sacramento conference, right? Small business program manager, Clarice. I'm here. This is at Navy Gold Coast. So I'm here. This is where I met Diane Dempsey, BAE Systems. Eventually got Diane to be on my podcast. Okay. SBA rep out of Boston. Okay. Hanging out with, again, people from L3, people from Navy, Austin Johnson, AJ, Department of the Army. So Northrop Grumman. I'm in here. Again, this is a Navy mid-tier roundtable discussion. I'm in the room. I'm actually recording Travis Mack and Bob, his CEO of Salix Corporation, having a conversation with how we can increase opportunities, right, for mid-tier businesses. If you don't know what mid-tier business is, that's companies that have already exceeded the small business threshold, right? So now they're at 100 million, 140 million, 150 million, and now they're considered large by the government's definition, but they're still small compared to the Boeings and the Northrop Grummans of the world. Okay, this is Robert Swain when he first came on my show, and when Robert talked about meeting me at a conference, this is where we're at. Michelle Gardner, ICE, Target Gov. So a lot of the people that I'm getting now to participate at our summit coming up, I've met them over the years traveling to different conferences. And none of this came easy. It came because why? I've been showing up consistently, participating, I've been essentially letting them know who I am, what it is that I do. So when the opportunity finally came that I had something to offer to them, then boom, they were there to support. Now, did everyone come out to support me right away? No. So what happens? I'm still having to put in work. I'm still having to communicate. I'm still having to grind. I'm still having to continue to cultivate and develop relationships. I'm still having to continue to show what it is that I offer. What value do I bring to the table? Why, when they're thinking about what it is that how they're going to spend their budgets, how they're going to spend their time, who they're going to spend their time with, why should anything that Eric does, why does it matter? Why should anybody care? So let's talk about this recent trip that just occurred specifically, and then we'll get into actionable things for everybody out there. So this is me with Jackie Robinson. Does everybody know who Jackie Robinson is? Does anybody know who Jackie Robinson is? Let's talk about this. So Jackie Robinson right now, she's a presidential appointee under the current administration, Office of Government Contracting and Business Development. And right now, she is working on the new certification program for all of you out there. So for all of you out there, she's working with her team at the SBA on a new certification program that's going to allow you as a woman, as a veteran, as a small business, you're going to be able to go into eventually, this is the plan. Right now, if you are a veteran and you try to get certified, you can get veteran certified under the current program. They can get you certified in a few weeks. If you're a woman, that certification may take 8 months to a year. If you're 8A, that could take 6 months, right? And so, under the current system, if you are a woman and a veteran and 8A, right, then your certifications, you're going to have to apply to 3 different portals and they're going to come in at 3 different times. And so, right now, what's happening is you have to put in the information multiple times, multiple portals, right? And so it makes it very cumbersome for the small business who's trying to get these additional certifications and make to be able to get them. So what's happening is she's working on with her team on combining and making one single portal, and then essentially whatever you qualify for, right? Because apparently, in terms of the documentation, 80+% of all the documentation is the same for all the certifications. So if you are a woman and a veteran, you can actually get both certifications simultaneously, right? Going inside one portal, right? And so that was one of the issues that I always had a problem with the government was why are they making additional requirements on small businesses that they're not placing on large businesses? So I just want to say who Jackie was because, like I said, so this week, literally today's Thursday. I just came back yesterday. This picture was taken on Tuesday, and literally, she got on stage, spoke in front of a big crowd. She, again, being a presidential appointee, she has people that are assigned to her. She's never alone. And so she got off stage, and then I walked over to her. She said, "Oh my gosh, hey Eric!" And so we were able to grab this picture together. But she had already known me. Now I met her several years ago at another event where I was introduced to her by one of my podcast guests, Travis Mack. I also knew when she worked for another one of my podcast guests, Ms. Corliss Uduema, because she had retired 7 years ago. So going with what Bonita just said, constantly active, not just present, I'm showing people that I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be continuing doing the things that I do. I'm going to be doing continually supporting this community, and I'm going to be bringing value for all of you out here. So when people ask me how did I get 30 government officials in the room, it's because when you look at me flying and taking my dollars and my time, this is Caitlyn Rio from DCMA. right? So when people see me, they automatically recognize me. It automatically has the power of influence on those folks. And so now they've seen me for years. They've seen me at dozens of events. They see me across the country. And so now they know that they can believe and trust in me. So that's the same thing that my successful podcast guests have done. That's the same journey that they've been on. Many of my podcast guests, it's taken them years to get some of their relationships that they've turned into millions of dollars. We only see the final results. We don't see all the activities, all the things that they did prior to that. And so for me, what I was showing, and I want to continue to show people, is that when people say, how did I get those folks? Some of these people I met 4 years ago when I just came out. Some of the people I met 3 years ago. Some I met 2 years ago. And what happened to me, which is why we're having this conversation. And again, stay with me. I want to invite you guys up to talk about some other things, and we'll talk more about the roadmap. Is I've joined many organizations. I've been a part of many organizations. I've given my time. I've served. I've volunteered, and I've been present, and I've been active, and I have been consistent in terms of saying the same message, right? I haven't changed my message. I haven't changed my theme. A lot of you, you're one flavor today, you're another flavor tomorrow. So I've been consistent in my messaging, been consistent in what I'm saying I'm doing. I've been consistent in also saying, hey, this is what I'm trying to do is help small businesses. I want to close the gap. I want to give back to folks. I want to make a difference. And I want to be able to give them access to contracts and opportunities for, I now call all of you out here, the undiscovered group. I have learned to stop using the word minority because in some circles, minority is frowned upon. So I say the undiscovered group, which I was taught to by Miss Shalea Morset, who someone else taught her to use that word. So now we're saying we're helping the undiscovered because really you are all undiscovered. And essentially, we're all minorities to America because the only true people that were native here are the original natives. So technically, we're all minorities. But for those of us who may not understand the definition of what that means, or they may not accept the definition, I'd rather use the words undiscovered. And so for me, all of you who are trying to get to this opportunity, trying to get to these contracts, you're also the undiscovered because once you get discovered, then you'll be able to create opportunities for yourself and contracts and business and be able to deliver goods and services. I also want to let you know that it's not as competitive as you think. And we'll talk about that as we get into the story. So this past week, I'm there. When we go to this big old conference and we look at it, 30,000 people, right? They've got tanks, they've got two-story exhibitor halls, $50,000 booths. They've got colonels and commanders at this Army conference, right? You're looking at all these different people out here. But guess what? At the end of the day, the small business people met in that room 201. That was a room set aside for small businesses. And so, regardless of the fact that when you're thinking about the appearance of going to conferences and going to events, if you only saw this stuff, you might be intimidated. But when I showed up to this big old event, we were really inside this little room right here, 201, in the corner, away from all the activity. So you had the chance to talk to all of the influencers and decision makers, but unfortunately, not many of them you would have known who they were because they weren't necessarily speaking on stage. So if you didn't know them beforehand, you wouldn't have known how to talk to them, how to reach out to them, you wouldn't even know who they were because it's not like they had this big badge that says, hey, I'm the small business for this, I'm the small business for that. You had to already know them and recognize them by face. But many of us, we haven't done our proper due diligence, we haven't done our proper work to even know who we're supposed to be talking to and why we're supposed to be talking to them and about what we should be talking to them. So let's get into that today. But so again, and by the way, keep asking your questions in the chat. We're gonna keep having this conversation. So getting to the roadmap, and what is roadmap and what does it entail? So the first thing that we go over in the roadmap is we take you through, and let's go through. I'm going to skip over the first two sections, and I'm going to go into this section, right? These are the activities that if you do, will take you from where you're at to getting a seven-figure contract. You may not get one contract that makes seven figures, but you will be able to get multiple contracts that will add up to more than seven figures. These are the activities. We're not going to go through all of them because, again, today's topic is specifically, right? We're talking about getting government officials in the room, and we're discussing specifically the idea of attending industry conferences related to your target market list. So that is on here. That is the section 18 on here. I'll point to it. It's right there. Okay. And so when we go to that section, let's talk about it. I just had it open and I closed it off. Let's talk about it. By the way, while you are watching me, go ahead and drop in there your name. Tell me who you are. Tell me what you do. Tell me the city that you're from. Tell me about your business so we can talk specifically to you. All right. And then that way we could go ahead and get to it. All right. Did you hear me? So while we're waiting for me to jump into this section, go ahead and drop in there your name, the name of your organization. Also, tell me what it is that you do and the city that you're in. Okay. So use this time to be able to meet your fellow. There's 22 people on this call. Go ahead and use this time to talk to the other people on the call. Let them know about you so that we can all meet each other. All right. So, in fact, let me do this. I have the digital form. It might be easier for me to just pull up the digital format while we're talking. So when we discuss how to choose conferences to go to, I always say let your market research guide your activities. And what does that mean? That means that, and by the way, if you're a student, you should already have a copy of the roadmap. We sent it out to all of our students that are in our courses. We sent that out, I think it was 2 weeks ago. So if you're a student, you should already have a copy of the roadmap that was sent out 2 weeks ago. All right, here's a digital version. I'll pull that up on the screen so you can see it. Okay. Jerome, you're the only one paying attention. All right, good stuff. All right, so here, attend industry conferences related to your target market list. So the target market list is essentially when we start determining who buys what we sell. We call that our target market list. And what that means is that is the list of organizations and offices that essentially, whatever product that you're trying to sell or service, we've done our research and we figured out who they are. And so now, like, okay, we know who they are. And so we want to meet that particular organization. We want to meet those decision makers. We want to get in their face. And now, right, we want to be present, like I just showed you for the last 30 minutes of what I did to get to the agencies. But now that you've done that research, you want to find out where they're going to be at so you can start hanging around. I've heard people call it, right? Let me zoom in. So, how do you find relevant industry conferences, networking strategies for those conferences, maximizing your ROI for attending conferences? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, again, when we look at how to find relevant industry conferences, first you got to identify your target market, right? Based on doing your research and understanding that. Second, looking at different industry associations, right? Such as NDIA, NCMA. And then there's other resources that you can look at online, like Gov Events, Eventbrite, LinkedIn for conferences. And then there's government sponsored events, such as GSA has their own conferences, Department of Events has their own conferences. I just showed you AUSA conference out there. And then we have what I like to tell you to do is evaluate the relevance of each conference. So let's look at the speaker lineup. Let's look at the ensure that they are decision makers from the agencies and industries that are relevant to your business. We want to make sure that there's opportunities for you to network with them. So, what kind of sessions are they hosting? Networking sessions, roundtable discussions, one-on-one meetings, and then look at some of the past attendees, right? And what are some of the past attendees saying? Do they have a history of attracting the participants from within your target market list of recent and relevant agencies? So that's how I determine, right, the events that I want to attend. Now, clearly, there's a lot of work that goes into that because, like I said, it starts off with knowing who buys your services, and I understand that that is a whole nother ball game, right? But essentially, once you can figure that out, then this is what I do next, right? So once I figured it out, is my target market. Then I look at associations, right? Online research events, and then whether government, who's from the government's involved, and then I look at the actual relevance of the makeup of the people participating. Now, we do that, right? Now, once we do that, what are the next steps that we do? So the next things that I like to do is, right, when I go to these events, I like to have a clear objective on what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. So I want to have a clear objective on what it is I'm trying to accomplish. And for all of you just joining us, we are reading from the Federal Contracting Roadmap. So for all the people that are in our course, our students, you all should already have this. This roadmap should have went to all of our students. So now, right, setting clear objectives before attending conference, goals, right, potential partners, connecting with government officials, industry leaders, understanding, reviewing the attendee list, right? Who else do you want to connect with that's going to be at the conference? Preparing an elevator pitch, right? Look at some of the sessions that you want to be in, right? What are the network events you want to participate in? And then staying connected and following up. Now, all of that seems like it could be easy or it could be hard depending upon who you are and your perspective. But let's talk specifics. And for example, let's go to something that we're doing, and I'm having a hard time jumping screens here. But let's just take a look at, for example, our summit that's coming up. So I'm looking at all the people in the room. Make sure right now there's 34 people watching. Can you please drop in the chat the name of your organization, what it is that you do, and the city or state that you're from, so that we can I can use recent and relevant examples based on the people here. So let's look at our agenda for our upcoming summit on November 14th. So right now, we're hosting this OTA roundtable again, this is primarily for tech companies, innovators, venture capitalists, people that have needs that include research and development, prototype products, things like that. We have our opening night VIP reception that is specifically to meet the exhibitors, sponsors, key speakers, right? That the government's hosting. Our MC, Teresa Moon, right? And so, Teresa Moon, what I encourage everyone to do, hey, Ashley, welcome. What I encourage everyone to do is right now, while you're here, make sure that you go back and you grab this list of people and you know who they are and you have something to talk to them about when you meet them, when you come down to Miami. This is just one example. So Teresa Moon, she works at Parabolis. They help with GovCon financing. Their company specifically works with small businesses in the government contracting sector, helping them to get financing. Right? How many people? One of their biggest obstacles and challenges is financing their contracts, financing their deals. I hear it all the time. So this her company, I know Teresa very well because Teresa is one of those people that I met many, many moons ago, that's kind of funny. Teresa Moon, I met her moons ago, but I met her a long time ago, and her and I actually, she when she was first working at Parabolis. Let me see if I can pull this up on the screen so I can show you. And if you need help how to find this information, it's also if you just go to gctsummit.com, it's on our website. We're constantly updating our speakers list, so you can see, the people. But Teresa's company, she literally they specifically work with government contractors, and I met, like I said, Teresa. She lives in Orlando. I live down in Palm Beach, Florida, and she reached out to me, and she invited me to some events, and I accompanied her. She made some introductions for me to people that I never knew before. And so that's how she started building and developing a relationship with me over that time. Since then, she's invited me to numerous conferences that we've attended together. She's actually gotten me into conferences for free because she was a sponsor. And so we've had that type of reciprocal relationship where I've sent her clients, I've sent her students. In fact, I don't know how many of you guys are aware of the Contavis. They were someone that she's been working with a long time, and when they were first trying to figure out where to get financing and how to expand and grow their business, that was one of the first places I recommended to. So I have several GovCon students that have worked with Parabolis successfully and have grown and scaled their business as a result. So, so these things, these relationships, are instrumental when you're trying to figure out, like I said, going back to the topic of the conversation, right? Getting that first deal. It's hard to get or even try to win a seven-figure contract if you don't have financing in place, if you don't have lines of credit, if you don't have capital. It's really difficult to try to secure that. So some of these elements you're going to need prior to even thinking that you could win a contract of that size or nature or scope. So I just want to say that because I think a lot of times we're not considering that. Let's go back to our list, right? So we just showed Jackie Robinson, right? Donna Bennett, CISO for the Department of State. So if it were me, I would be trying to figure out, okay, who is the Department of State and where's the Department of State by? But more importantly, if I'm a technologist, right, and I've got a information security officer from the Department of State coming to speak, they're going to be talking about, right, what are they seeing out there? What are their challenges they're having? What do they need? What is it that you guys are not seeing? And this type of information, this type of insight can lead to a potential solution that you may have or be working on that maybe they haven't thought of, or maybe they have thought of, but they haven't found the person to actually put it together. Like I brought up today, the first, I know a lot of you guys are just joining us, but earlier when I first started this conversation, I brought up a young lady who I met with who was doing about $2 million a year. She's just started doing federal. She has a teaming partner, and she just got her first contract for about $1 million. And so she was like, Eric, it was such a breath of fresh air because it used to take me a whole year to do $1 million worth of work, right? And so Ashley, I love Ashley. We gonna get into it, Ashley. We getting there. We getting the forecast. We getting there. I love it. But I want you guys to essentially know the people that are going to be there. I want you to come prepared. I don't want you to say, I'm a woman, I'm a veteran. I don't want you to say your socioeconomic designation. I don't want you to say I'm a minority. I don't want you to say, right, like this guy who I had lunch with today, he said, well, we all know that they have to do business with blah, 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 blah. And I said, they don't have to do anything. I said, that is the wrong verbiage to use when you're communicating with people that work at government. No one has to do anything. They don't have to do anything, right? So no one is required to do anything for anyone. So now let's keep going. I want to go down the list because I want to. My Ashley's over beat me to the punch. Um, so Nuclear Regulatory Commission, NASA, right? FAA, understanding, right? These, when we look at, for example, FAA or NRC, these are civilian agencies. Do you know what that means, right? One thing that I have found personally is working with the Department of Defense is really, really hard. And when we look at just the money and we go, oh, they got the biggest pots of money. Yeah, but they're also the most difficult customer. They want everything and they want it perfect and they want it the way that they want it. And they don't give you any breaks. They don't let you take any shortcuts. The Department of Defense is a really hard customer to learn from. It's a really, like, those are real, that is the most difficult customer to begin with. I personally like some of the other agencies that are not so strict, that are not so difficult to work with, that essentially will give you a break or cut you some slack and allow you to make some mistakes, give you some room for errors so that you don't feel as though, right, your back is always against the wall. So that's why we have some, like I said, Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Now NASA is tough, but FAA is easy. We're still waiting on NSF to confirm, but they are right now. They are. We know they're going to be there. We're just not sure if someone's going to be speaking. So we're going to have NSF there talking about the different programs. Going back to, as it says, all these groups, you can go in and start looking up their forecast list, and you can look at what is it that they are trying to buy. What is it that they want to buy? I already have some examples pulled up and I will pull them on the screen. I'm just moving screens really quick so that you guys can see them. And then we'll get into it. So now when we come down here, I'm going to move this list down because I don't want to spoil it. But so we've got Shannon Jackson coming. He's a SES from Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. So SES stands for Senior Level Executive. And so HHS, you can go in and Google, which is what I did, HHS Long Range Forecast. And when I type in HHS Long Range Forecast, it took me here to HHS Contract and Opportunities. And then from there, it put up this little box that says Opportunity Forecast, HHS.gov. And you can start searching through these opportunities. Now, there's here 5,271. So it's a lot. You can sort by NAICS code, you can sort by title, you can sort by contract range, target award date. But more importantly, all the information that we talked about in the roadmap, right? All that information you can search for. Remember we said earlier, right? How to get prepared to meet the people. So what does that take? What does that entail? It entails understanding, right, who HHS is, right, how many sub entities do they have, offices, right, and then each one of those offices, what are their specific needs and what are they trying to do. So then now, when you talk to them, you can be articulate and you can ask specifically about certain vehicles, certain contracts, certain people, and then now, when they meet you, they're going to be very surprised that you have such a wealth of knowledge, even though it's all public information. But they're going to now want to do more for you, make introductions for you, and get you in front of the people who are going to give you that next contract opportunity. Does that make sense? Everyone here? Yes? No? I hope so. So, like I said, I definitely want to. I'm going to send out this link, and I've been talking now for about 48 minutes. I'm going to invite some people to come up, and I want to find out kind of what is they're working on and see how we can help them. And also, I'll start taking some of the questions from the people in the audience. So we'll do that as we keep talking. So I dropped a link inside of the notes. Anyone can click that link and come on up and ask their questions, talk about who their business is, and ask specific questions related to their particular business. All right. So while we're waiting for our first brave guest to come up, we'll keep having a conversation. So now, like we said before, we already discussed understanding your market. We're doing researching the people at the conference. We're researching the event. Right? I I believe that a lot of us do not have down our elevator pitch. And elevator pitch, for me, when I think about it, I think about just being able to tell me who you are and what it is that you do. Right? How many people, if and I when you start coming up here, I want you to tell me. I want the first thing you say, right, is who you are and what it is that you do. I want to say that. And I want folks to listen and hear because it's not as easy. I don't think many of us have practiced saying that or introducing ourselves to anyone out, like to just strangers about specifically as it relates to our business. That is not a normal thing that you do unless you are actively talking and engaging with folks. This has become second nature to me because I do it every single day. But for so many of us who are starting out, right, who probably were operators in our businesses, and now we're trying to figure out how to go into this new marketplace, this is something that you have to get down like solid. So I'm waiting for some people to come up and ask their questions. Like I said, I did want to make this a Q&A session towards the end, and I want to have some engagement so we can start asking questions. Otherwise, if not, then I mean, I'll wrap this up in the next 10 minutes or so. All right. I dropped the link in there. So again, preparing elevator pitch. Who you are, where's your business, what does it do? At last year's event, our summit, Mr. Shannon Jackson, he talked about having 5 slides when you do your briefings. And on the 5 slides, right, the the first slide was not who you are and what you do. That was not the first slide. That was slide number 4. So how many of us would have got that wrong? How many of us on our first slide would have put, I'm Jason and I'm a construction company? The first slide, right, was not who you are and what you do. Does anybody know what the first slide would be? Right? Anybody? Anybody from last year's conference? I'm gonna save that for later. So practicing your elevator pitch, telling people what is it, why are you here? What are you trying to accomplish? What is it? How can they help you? How can they serve you? Right? Who do you want to meet? What opportunities do you want to discuss? What offices, bureaus, key stakeholders? Anybody know any of that stuff? If these sound like foreign language to you, then now you're probably trying to understand what's the separation between you and the 6-figure guy and the 7-figure person. Because all the things that I'm saying should be you should have heard before, be very understand some of the vernaculars, and you should be know not just what I'm saying, but what it means. So again, I think that many of us we cannot clearly articulate who we are and what we do and what we're looking for, and so that's why we can't get people to give us anything. And when I say give us anything, meaning give us an opportunity, not give us a contract, but give us an opportunity by making an introduction, by put us in front of people. All right, I got my first brave guess. So, my man, uh-oh,
Hey, what's up, Eric?
what's up? How are you, brother?
I'm doing good. I had some questions on this topic actually.
Okay.
So, my question is, having some past performance in the GovCon space, specifically in construction, but I haven't been focused on one entity. It's kind of been, I've done quite a bit for some national parks and for Fish and Wildlife Service and Department of Interior stuff. But looking at how do I find that right client and pitch myself as like, hey, I'm a new business. I've used a lot of subcontractors in this space, but still, um, how do I niche down to say like, hey, this is what I do to approach some of these clients?
But you already niched down because you chose a path. You're not, I mean, when I say choose, no, I'm not saying to choose one agency. You chose your industry. So you've already niched down. So you do have, so, I mean, no one is expecting anyone to have only worked with one agency. That's not something that people do. But you are doing one specific thing. And so I would say this one thing that I heard you say that I didn't like was that you use a lot of subcontractors.
Right.
I heard you say that I didn't like that because what you're saying to me, right, is you are I would not but why do you feel that you have to say that? Why can't you just say that you've won, I don't know, 2 dozen projects or you've won, right? You've done whatever, $3 million in contract. Why do you have to say use a lot of subcontractors?
I guess that was my own insecurity because my that was my question because I know that like as far as self performance, you know,
Right.
that was I guess that was my question. How do I pitch myself without being look, this is how much I self perform?
Yeah, because well, the thing is this. Uh, uh, um, many of the so one of the things that and this is by the way, this is a great question. The government says that they want companies to self-perform, but the data shows differently. So they are constantly awarding contracts to companies that don't necessarily self-perform. So for me, it's interesting because what I usually do is I'll go in and I'll say, these are the areas that, and again, first of all, I don't lead with any of that stuff. This is only if they ask me these things, Tyrell. Okay, I don't lead with any of that stuff because for me, no, none of none of the big companies lead with it, right? They only lead with their bonding, their capabilities, their financial, blah blah blah, how many projects they've done. That's what they lead with, right? I've done this much work. We've done this many projects. We work with this many agencies. So they don't lead with how much I self perform. You never you don't hear that, right? In fact, let me ask you a different question. When people talk about and I hate to pick on Boeing. No, I don't. So when people talk when people bring up Boeing, but one of the things that Boeing prides themselves on, look at our supplier base.
Yeah,
They
I
talk
mean
about right? That's
none of the
not
large primes.
self-performance.
Yeah, none of the large primes self perform. Even like
Right.
Verizon
So they
doesn't.
pride themselves on our supplier base.
Right.
Okay. So then why is it that you feel the need, like you have to demonstrate that? Now, I know I'm asking the question, but I also know the answer to the question because I've done this. So I kind of know it, but why do you feel the need that you have to lead with, I have a bunch of subcontractors?
Oh, it's an insecurity. I mean,
Okay.
that's it. Like
Yeah.
it's like okay, it's
You keep going on mute.
oh sorry, yeah, it's not anything but insecurity, right? Of me saying, hey, uh, what do I guess me really wondering what do I actually bring to the table when I sit down one on one. When I look at a contract, I know when I see it my capabilities, and I know that I can complete it, right? So when I sit down with someone, how do I convey that I'm the right person to help meet their needs? I guess that's the real question.
So what's interesting is when I was at this conference this past week, they said that it was a stat that someone gave. I don't want to, I'm going to butcher the stat, but it was something like every major federal project that's being done by a large business is either delayed or overrun on cost. Every one of them. Every one. So when you want to talk about what value you have, is those don't run over the cost and don't delay the project.
Right.
That's your value. Like people, we don't realize because we are comparing ourselves to like perfection, and we're not comparing ourselves to like humans and the rest of the world, which is now when you compare yourself to that, where you say, okay, every project is overrun on cost or um, time, you look like a hero, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, that's the closest to perfection, right? On
I mean, I'm
time,
just saying, like,
budget, right?
are all your projects run over on cost, or all your projects run over on time? No.
No, no.
Okay, so then that's what I would lead with. Hey, I've successfully completed 22 projects for the government. I've worked for 3 agencies. We've never had a cost overrun. We've never been over budget. We've always been on time and under budget on every single project.
Yeah. That makes sense. Hey,
How's
hey,
that? Hey, is that a nice elevator pitch?
it's a great elevator pitch. It's easy. I mean, it's easy. It's honest. It's just me playing small or feeling like okay, what do I have to offer? I guess that was the real question. So you
Yeah, no,
answered.
I mean, I think you got that to offer right there, because if now that I give you that insight on the government situation, when you go tell someone that and they already know that they're having that problem, they can be like, hey, this guy, he's gonna get it done.
Yeah,
And guess what? You're gonna be known as the guy who gets it done. And at the end of the day, really, they're looking for someone to kind of point the finger at if something goes wrong. And you're like, that's fine. Hey, I got big shoulders. I'll be that guy. I'll be that person, right? And that's what you do.
yeah, perfect. Hey, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. By the way, we have additionally. By the way, thank you for coming up. And that's why I want people to come up and ask their questions, because people are really. If you can't come up here right now and ask it to me, uh, I sure as hope that you don't think that when you get in front of people, you're going to do much better. You got to kind of get the jitters out right now, right here, while we have a chance to practice. Because one of the things, Tyrell, I'll tell you right now, we've got a couple, and this may not apply to you, but there's a couple of construction companies that are looking for subs. And listen, maybe you don't want to do the sub work, but if you go to the event and you meet them, you can connect other people with them. Is the way that I see it. So you may not want to work directly with them, but for example, let's say that here, let me show you guys something. So we've got Balfour Beatty coming, and we've got Clark Construction. right? Most people have heard of those two companies, Balfour Beatty and Clark Construction. So again, one of the things that Elle, who was in our group, talked about, Elle said how she was been able to go. You know who Elle is? Elle Martin, Tyrell? So, and for those of you who don't know who Elle Martin is, Elle and Tony Martin, they started with me about 2 years ago. Since that time, I think they've done about $24 million in contracts. And Elle, her secret sauce, and that's what I was kind of sharing with you, Tyrell. Elle's secret sauce, she said to us in our 5-day challenge. She says that anyone I meet, I ask them, how can I help them first? And she goes, then I try to help them. And then eventually they'll ask me, what do I do and how they can help me? And so even if you cannot help, like, for example, Tyrell, you don't want to work for Balfour Beatty, you don't want to work for Clark Construction. That's cool. But if you listen to them talk and they're in an area with wherever they're hey, we're looking for people in this area, DMV, blah, blah, blah. We're in this, right? Now, you may have someone that you run across, or a partner or someone that's like, hey, I do 10 million a year. I'm looking for some subcontract work. You're like, hey, I overheard Balfour Beatty says they're looking for subs. I overheard Clark Construction. In fact, I got the guy's card from that summit I went to down in Miami. Let me send it to you. How did you now present yourself in his eyes? What do you look like?
Yeah, I mean, someone who solves their problem, right?
Right. And so now that person can say, Tyrell, wow, you are an amazing guy. I don't meet people like you, right? What can I do for you? This is how we have to start thinking about things. Not only on the fact that, like, oh, well, um, what can they do for me? But it's like, wait, I'm in construction, I'm running across construction guys, I'm sitting in this presentation, I'm listed these companies. Yes, maybe I'm not in that area where they're looking for subs, but someone else I run across could potentially use that information. And then you could share that information with them. And that's essentially what Elle Martin does, and that's how she was able to get those big contracts because she started first by seeing what she can give, and then those people connect them with other folks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, right?
And a lot of us don't think that way.
Yeah, it's like the go-giver principle.
Right. Right. And I know we have it in us, right? We all have it in us, but we just, my job is not to tell you anything that you don't already know, but to pull it out and to tell it in a way that applies to business and and show you how others have been able to use it so that you can believe, right? And because sometimes we can't see stuff, right? So I'm telling you examples of what other people have done so that you have another reason to believe that it works and so that you can apply it in your business and get some of the same results because it truly works. Tyrell, listen, you see my list, okay? I mean, Jerome, you know me. Hold on. Like, look at these people we got coming. And we just picked up some more folks that are not on this list today. So how can I think that that doesn't work when I'm successfully, I mean, the way we're gearing up now, and I don't want to exaggerate, but I've been to a lot of conferences and not seen this kind of lineup.
That's why I want to be in the room, right? I mean,
Okay,
a lot of
I've been
people-
to a lot of other events and not seen this kind of lineup. Like I go to, for example, like I go to SAMI conferences where they're all construction focused. You go to IT conferences, all IT focused, right? We're all small business focused. So, I have, I have, and I keep pinching myself because I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have all these people here. This is gonna be sick. Like, this is gonna be, yeah, because we're meeting with them and we're talking to them and we're telling them what we want. We're not just having them show up. Like we're having like for example, we met with Randy met with Department of State today. I talked to HHS this morning. I'm talking to the Department of Homeland Security this afternoon. We talked to National Science Foundation this afternoon. So we're talking to them and having meetings with them prior to and saying, hey, right, they were saying what they want to talk about. What is it that we want from them? What is it that we want value for them to bring to all of you? So that's, that is, it's not just show up, take a picture, and then walk away and then walk out the building. So it's more than that. But yeah, I think for you, man, listen, you're crushing it. They love what you're doing already, and you just need more people to know who you are and the value you bring. And I promise you, FAA for you is going to be a killer. A lot of my students made a lot of money off FAA.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to come, hang out, and meet some people, and yeah, it's gonna be a good time. And I appreciate your time letting me come up and work some stuff out with you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, Tyrell. See ya. All right, who's next? Who's coming up next? Let's get you guys, let's hook everybody up. Make sure you hit the like button. Thank you. Looking forward to it. Hey, Jerome. Yes. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Let's see. So someone asked, how can I let me go through who's coming up. So again, this is our new roadmap. Whenever you enroll in our, here, matter of fact, I'll just show you. I'll show you better than I can tell you. Who's coming up next? So if you head over, this is our platform for all our trainings are at. If you join our federal group coaching, with our federal group coaching comes the roadmap. So on GovCon EDU, you can see all of our courses. You can see all the programs that we have. Our first partner challenge goes into all the things you learn: foundation, marketing, right, bidding. But if you want all of this in one, then you go over here to group coaching, and then you'll see all the plans. So, all right, boom. Let's get my man Tony up here.
Hello, hello.
Why only the GovCon students is coming up? Where all the regular people at?
Well, we're trying to make it easy for them, so they're not nervous.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, thank you for making it easy for them. What's up, brother?
Good. Hey, everybody, I'm Tony from the Tutor Group. I do tires and run flats. So, so my plan, what I'm trying to do now is I'm really trying to get in with the government when they're starting to design and test tires. I mean, vehicles. Well, it's all part of it, but I think that's my best direction since, I'm always thinking about that +1.
Mm-hmm.
How would you recommend trying to do that? I mean, I know I have to target TACOM because that's where most of the stuff is done. The State Department, they do a lot with tires and run flats and wheel assemblies. They ship overseas, and Homeland Security. I know the Customs and Border Protection, we're starting to use run flats, but I guess I just got to keep doing what I'm doing and meeting people. And
it sounds like to me that you've been. I know when we were together this past week, I know the guy asked about your NSN number, right? And and you said you were working on it.
What'd you say?
You said you were working on the NSN number, or did you already have it?
So when I talked to one of the guys that makes vehicles, because we were talking about a product we were submitting to the government to be approved for, and he was like, "What's the NSN number?" And I just rattled it off, and I'm like, "Yeah, there's 2." But we were working on getting that product approved. So yeah, he was pretty excited. He was like, "Well, please let me know when that's approved." And I was like, "Yo, man."
So you already know, now one of the things that you, and again, you're very specialized. Have you talked to Ryan about kidding that stuff?
Kidding?
Ryan, yeah, Ryan
Y-
Tinch about kidding.
Yo, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that
But
was
Ryan creates his own, and he creates his own. They create their own part numbers for stuff that he goes through DLA.
yeah, yeah. Trust me, we've learned kind of how do they do stuff. So,
Okay.
but the main thing is, yeah, we want to kind of start getting into TACOM where they're testing vehicles because we have our run flats and our wheel assemblies now, and there's only one major manufacturer that supplies the government. So, now we're giving them competition, we're giving them an alternate source or an additional source, and we're giving them shorter lead time. So we just got to kind of get our name out there so they
So
know they don't have to wait, you know, for one company. They have a couple companies that they can go after now.
all right. So you said TACOM.
Yeah, TACOM, the DOD, I mean, not the DOD, State Department. I mean, yeah, DOD, but they're big. But the State Department uses a lot of our product, like our lubricants, our run flats, wheel assemblies.
Okay.
Homeland Security, I mean, Customs and Border Protection is under Homeland Security, so they use our stuff. But then they have vehicles that are beefed up, and they use our product. So
Let me
we
ask you a
just,
question.
mm,
It says Department of State, right? It says Homeland Security. So I have so we are confirming the SES for Homeland Security to be there as well.
okay,
Okay. Homeland Security. She emailed me and said that she's been approved to come. I gotta just send her the proper forms. So I will have Homeland Security, their senior executive for us to be there.
all right, good, all right, good.
Okay. So
Yeah,
Homeland Security.
remember 3 years ago when you talked to Eric about products, he's like, "Nah, man, I don't do products."
I do products, man.
Now,
I don't do, and I don't. But that doesn't
yeah,
mean I can't.
but now your network
Yeah, for you
is
guys.
now
But
your network is both.
so I've got Homeland Security coming. Um, we have the Department of State coming.
Yeah, I definitely have to talk to them
They
because
were, yeah. Um,
they
I'm
can
trying
def-
to think because it sounds like to me because you talked about um, prototyping or some R&D stuff. What did
no,
you?
not prototyping. We just have like our run flats and wheel assemblies, they're used on other military vehicles. It's just some vehicles they have to get approved for. So that's why we want to do
Hmm,
once they start testing vehicles or if they need a solution or they need a product quicker. It just depends on what the needs are. But
okay, so they're testing them on vehicles.
yeah, like they'll test a
Who's
vehicle
the
like
test?
right now.
But let me ask you this: who are the testing companies?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess I have to find out because I
I mean,
know with
'cause
tires.
I would say whoever is the testing company, then they might be able to get you in.
Okay. Yeah,
Because to
'cause
me, when in construction, we have some people that have certain products, but we can get in because again, the government outsources all this stuff, right? So like in construction, they outsource the plans and the designs. If you can get in with the architecture, they can write your stuff into the design for the building.
so that's why we're trying to target the vehicle companies to where
Yeah,
when they
no, the
design it.
vehicle companies are too big. I'm thinking about the testing company.
Also, so you're saying use the testing. Oh yeah, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would use the testing companies,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah. You don't these okay.
vehicle people are too big.
Yeah,
They're not gonna they
yeah,
ain't gonna you want the little guy who you could get on the phone and pick up that you can be like, "Look, hey, man, I need to test this other product too,"
oh
right?
yeah, okay.
And so, another example of that, which I forgot to mention today's call, was when one of the things that this guy taught me a long time ago about getting government people to come to events, he's like, he became friends with all the people who were in charge of the media and the PR for the offices, these agencies. once you're friends with them, then they can tell you who's approved to travel, who's approved to speak. They already know that. Rather than you trying to go to an agency and asking to get approval, if you work with the guy who does the approvals, they already know like the people, and then you could skip waiting all that time. So I go to the testing company.
Okay, yeah, that's a good. See, there it is. That's probably $1 million plus
That's
advice
it,
right
man.
there.
That's the game. You're gonna be next year like, yo, that testing company, we got us approved. Now we've got something we can take in.
Yeah, this year I'm trying to close out strong. So,
No, listen, I want you to close out strong.
so should
Go
I
ahead.
should I just tell a little story about um just so everybody knows how important it is to niche down and kind of know their field? You got time?
I got time. Yeah, go for it.
So last year, when I went to the conference, I don't know if some of you guys watched the video with me and Eric, but I talked to Todd, and he just gave me advice, just like Eric did, about adding a plus one. So adding a plus one is kind of just offering something in addition to your product, like something complimentary. You go to a restaurant, let's say they have valet. That's a plus one, something simple like that. So anyway, so we did a tire remediation job. We cleaned up some tires out in Pennsylvania after the conference because we thought about what else we can do. So we bid on 2 contracts and we won one of them. The second one we didn't win because they didn't pick because the prices were too high. Well, long story short, they put the bid out again. They went to the lowest bidder, and the lowest bidder never even started the job. The job was supposed to start 2 months ago. So I talked to the contracting officer last week, and I told him, I said, the price is kind of low. If you guys have any issues, let me know. And he was like, yep, we're having those issues right now. The guys didn't even start. So the point I'm trying to make is just when you niche down and you know your numbers and you study your numbers, sometimes it's okay to lose a bid because you don't want to be paying anybody else to do their work.
There you go. I love it.
So I'll let somebody else jump in. Some testing
That's good
companies.
stuff. I appreciate that. Hey, Tony ready to go back and look at the testing companies now, y'all. He's ready to go to the call. I know. By the way, Tony, I want to say that on our video, someone did comment and they said that when they saw you, they were inspired because of your hair, and they weren't sure if they had to cut their hair off to do this business. And so,
Oh, really? Yeah, trust me. I mean, I think about that too, but then I say, who am I trying to be besides me?
right.
So that's good. Yeah, I mean, that's good that's why we have to get out here and talk and communicate. And
Sure.
like I'm in tires. I still ain't have running, but anybody at any federal conferences that does tires. So it's like,
Yeah. No.
it's
Well,
like,
that's, like I said, uh, send me. I don't know who TACOM is specifically. Is there that's short for something? Where's that short?
yeah, it's for the Army. It's where they do a lot of testing.
How do you spell it?
Oh, TA. It's an acronym. TACOM. I think it was previously called SOCOM, and then they changed
Okay.
it to TACOM.
Okay. So that's the manufacturing arsenals, maintenance operation depots. Okay.
Yeah. So they
All right.
tested.
Good. No, we need to know that because we got to put it out here into the world so that, like, for me, and this is what I do for everybody. All right. So where's my girl at? Ashley, you still on here? Ashley Spur, where you at? So Ashley, we need to figure out how do we get somebody from TACOM for Tony over here because he's got his tires and run flats, and we need to connect him with somebody from here. So if you're out here watching and you know someone that's over here supporting this command, let us know. We are looking. Hey, look, they're accepting donations.
Yeah. For sure.
You know,
Donations.
no, just easy. But yeah, so again, one of the things we like to do is we like to connect people. So if you know someone here, then let us know, connect us with them, and let's see how we can help support Tony and get his tires approved so he can start selling directly and have his own tires going straight to the government.
Yeah,
So
the two tires. But yeah, everybody, you guys can do it. You just got to put the time and the work in. When you find something that you're doing that you like, you won't realize how many hours you put in because it's not work.
right.
That's that's probably pretty bad. Don't chase the money. Don't just look at contracts and say, "Oh, yeah, they won $5 million contracts. I'm gonna go do that," because you'll never
Yeah. Well,
succeed that way.
absolutely. No, I agree. I agree. So, all right, my man, Tony, I
All right,
appreciate you.
man. I got
Thanks.
I got some work to do.
All right. I see you, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right.
All right, brother. Thanks.
Later.
All right. So again, we're coming up, spreading the news. Anybody else have anything that they want to go over? Let me see. So my man David says, "What do I lead with if I'm a new business and have yet to secure solicitation?" So the first thing is that when you, as a new business, you're because you have not won a government contract, that doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing in business. No one leads with, and if you go back to what I said to Tyrell, right? We talk about my company, what my company has ability to do. It has nothing to do with whether I've won a previous contract. If I'm I install IT systems. Regardless if I've ever won a solicitation to government, I still install IT systems, David. So being a new business, what is it, the capabilities that you have that you can't perform if someone were to award you a contract today? That's the way that I always look at it. If someone were to award you a contract today, what are the capabilities that you can perform, or what are the capabilities that you're looking to perform? Right? Because that's what do you, I mean, by the way, everyone started off as a new business before they got their first contract. So if you're a new business, it's not about being new. It's about what is it that you do? What is it that you have the ability to do? If someone was like, okay, David, here's a $200,000 contract to do whatever. What is it? What is that contract? What if I could write it up so it had your name on it and it was perfect, and you're like, oh my gosh, I could do this with my eyes closed. What would that contract be? For what services? What quantity? How much time do you need? How what does that look like? And so you have to be able to say that to people. You have to be able to say that. So, all right, questions, comments. What else do we have? By the way, David, for you, ABCs of GovCon greatness. Acing federal contracts with Power Trio. This group of people, they're going to help you with exactly that. How do you position yourself, right? And what do you say? These three people can help you do that. They work with government contracting companies, small businesses of all sizes. They've helped a lot of people start from zero to now tens of millions of dollars. So that's the session for you. You're welcome. What else? Anyone else? Nope. Anyone else? All right. Well, listen, I'm going to close out then. If nobody else wants to come up, no one has anything they want to talk about, that's cool. I'm going to close out today. Like I said, for me, if you're not already attending the conference, if you're not, then my second thing would be, let me pull it up first of all. So, all right. So again, November 14th, 15th, Miami. If you are attending the conference and you have not booked your hotel rooms, right? The rooms, the discount runs out on the 21st, which is Monday. You just have to reserve the rooms. If you need to reserve them, you can reserve them with us. You can send Erica an email. In fact, let me just put our information on the bottom of the screen. So here. So again, if you need any information below, you can send an email to hello@govcon.edu, or you can give us a call, 786-477-0477, right? If you need anything with regards to the hotel room as well. If you want to look at our speakers list, they're right here on the main page. You can see some of our speakers that's coming. And again, if you want to just cheat and look at the people and learn about them, I would encourage you to do that as well, because one thing I want you to do is get familiar with meeting these kind of people and being able to sell them on what it is that you do. So we're happy that we can be able to do this for our community and to be able to put you in front of people that can help you win that next contract. And so for me, I'm very thankful that I'm in a position to be able to do that for some of you out here. So my man, Raymond, welcome. How's it going? So looks like I don't have see any questions. Let me see. As a new business, I'm also interested in providing artwork to construction projects. I don't know where to start looking for these types of opportunities just yet. So, like I said, if I were doing anything as it relates to construction, then that sounds like to me, artwork sounds like more of a furniture contract. So it would not be construction contract, but I don't know the type of artwork you're talking about. Because when I think about artwork, I think about what's behind my head, that type of artwork. And so for me, that comes under furniture contracts. So furniture contracts is when they build out an office and they buy all of the stuff that goes in the office, which includes furniture and art. So I would be looking at furniture contracts for artwork. That's where I would be looking. Unless it's a different type of artwork. But when I think about artwork, I think about furniture contracts. And so I would be looking at furniture contracts specifically for that. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time today. I'll do another live session next week, and hopefully some people have some questions and they'll be able to come up and we'll be able to talk about it. So thanks so much. Have a good night. We'll love to see you in this year's event, November 14th and 15th in Miami. Get your tickets at GCTSummit.com today.